Hey everyone, I'm going to do something super exciting, and I wanted to show you how I do it. When I learned from a guy who really knows what he's doing. Uh, Changing strings on a guitar. Doesn't that sound exciting? This is my early 70s Alvarez 5055. I got it I think about 8 months ago. I had bought it on Reverb. It was a fixer-upper, and I took it to our friend Tom Hardy, and he did some work on it. And Tom, we featured in a previous issue. Uh, but anyway, so I'm going to show you the excitement. All right. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the old strings off. Now, a lot of people on an electric guitar, it's okay just to snip them right away because you have, usually a very tight thing. But with an acoustic, I like to be a little more ginger. So what I do is I loosen the old strings first before I snip them. And very exciting, I know. But because if you could go ahead and do it, but I just feel it's a little better to loosen them a bit. A few turns on each post. And then what I'll do, I just use these snippers and I'll snip them down at the end here, one at a time, like so. And once the string, how do I know when it's time to change strings? Oh, what happens is they slowly degrade. They lose their snap, their twang, their clarity. These have been on here for, oh gosh, I think since July, and it's a guitar I use fairly regularly. And then what I'll do here, see that, look at that rat's nest of a mess. I'll just go along and I take the old ones off, and what I'll do, you'll see here in a minute. And if you have a cat around, cats absolutely love to play with strings. It's something else to bat at. But there is a cat here, but she's elsewhere at the moment, which is fine with me. So we just take those off, and then what I'll do, once I have them all gathered, I'll put them together and I make a ball with them, just kind of wind them around. And sometimes, like some of my friends make some jewelry with strings. Our friend Jane Kearns in Hawaii does that from Big Island Brew House. But I'm in Ohio right now, so sorry, Jane. I might save these for you for the next time I see you. But anyway, so I just put them all together like that so they're not everywhere. Then what I'll do, these are the bridge pins here, if you want to see. And what we do there is you have to kind of gently pull up and then pull the string away. And I'll put these all in a row. It doesn't really matter which string ferrule posts that you use, the pins, bridge pins, these are called. Let me get a picture of that, Mike. And I'd like to thank our friend Mike for helping me film this here. They have slots which the strings sit in, and then, but you'll see that more and more. These come out easy. Sometimes they don't. There's always one, and I bet this will be the one. Oh no, that came out. So these were aftermarket pins from Martin, because the ones that were in here originally were, they were just cheap plastic. And believe it or not, they actually do contribute to the tone. So the other thing I did, when I got this guitar, there was a brass adjustable saddle in here that robs the guitar of tone. So Tom had actually taken that out, filled the bridge with a piece of rosewood. You can't really even tell. His work is so supreme. And then he put a bone saddle in there. So that's part one. So I'll show you how I put them on next. All right, so what I do now, I'm laying them out. That's from the skinny, the high E, the B, the G, the D, and the A, and the E. I use whatever strings. I happen to like these Ernie Ball Earthwoods for my acoustic guitar. They're very reasonably priced. Ernie Ball's been around forever and they seem to last. This is what they would call an extra light gauge because even though it might look like I'm thrashing around on the guitar, I have kind of a light touch. So what I normally like to do, so we've got 1, 2, 3 from the top. I'm just looking here, 10, 14, 20. I normally start with the D string on the acoustic for that. And what I'll do, so I take it like this, and I take the end pin, and I look, okay, there's the D right there. And what I'll do, I kind of bend it a little bit like that at a right angle so it'll seat well in the hole. Then I line the slot up with it like this and push it down firmly. Then what I'll do, I run the string up, and I learned this trick from Dan Erlewine, a friend of mine in Athens, Ohio, who's like one of the premier repairmen in the world. And he taught me this trick in the 80s. You do the pinky trick. So you go to the post, and the excess string, you measure about a pinky's length. Then you take it, and again, you bend another right angle in it, just enough that it'll fit through the post, and then I snip it. But that's the pinky length rule. Now sometimes when you're putting them on, the pin will want to come out, but I think in this instance it won't do. So then what I do up here at the headstock, I'll position the pole so it's at that angle. And then I press down, see how the string's there? And I want to give it a little bend up because I want the windings to go underneath. And dun, 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 dun. This is where it gets fun and exciting, right? And I'll wind it. And you see how the string poking through is above? That's what you want because that kind of locks it into position. Some people put their strings on and wind the whole thing, but you know, I learned from the best. So now if you look back here, you'll see the bridge pin is popping up. So what I do, I just push it down a little bit and then wind it, and then you can hear it. And then, so what I'll do, I'll continue with the other strings, so we'll see in a minute. All right, so we've got the strings on. That didn't take long, probably, oh gosh, less than 10 minutes. But what I do next then, I take a little cloth like this, because once they're put on, you know, it just kind of, it's kind of in tune, just tune it up to pitch. And I've done this hundreds of times, so. But what I'll do then is I run along the length of the string and stretch it like this in advance. And it usually takes 2 good times. Again, this is another tip I learned from Dan Erlewine years ago. And if his name sounds familiar, it's because there's a company called Stuart McDonald, and they're in Athens, Ohio, and they're one of the biggest sellers of guitar parts, tools for luthiers, makers, really great stuff. And so yeah, I'll go down there with each string, and I just kind of run it along. And here's another little trick. You pinch where the nut is, and you press down back and forth. And speaking of the nuts, sometimes people will put graphite or pencil lead. This already had some in there. That just kind of prevents it from binding. So I'm stretching this. And usually it takes 2 times up to pitch. And then again. And usually after you stretch it twice, you're good to go. It'll remain in tune. And I go to the third one. And I'll show you little tuning tricks after that as well. And see, I kind of just gently pull it back and forth, not yanking the hell out of it. And then usually after you do this, the guitar should stay in tune. And if it doesn't, there might be problems with your tuners, the nut, the bridge, but normally it stays. So now I'm onto the G string, and this just helps, you know, give you confidence that it will stay in tune when you start playing it. And normally what I try to do when I have time is, if I'm going to change strings, I'll put them on the night before a gig or the day of, provided I have enough time. And that gives it time to settle in. But it's not a big deal. This is just like, it's like tires for your car, but you change them, you know. That's the other thing. People say, how often do I need to change my strings? Well, we all have different pH makeups, and mine last fairly long. Plus, you know, when I'm done after each gig, I'll wipe them down, you know, with a cloth. This is just an old shop towel, lint-free, as they say, clean with a lint-free cloth. And sometimes, if the guitar is dirty, which this one isn't, before I put the strings on, once the old ones are off, I'll clean it up. There's this really good polish from Stuart McDonald. I swear by this stuff. It's called preservation polish. There's no silicones or waxes in it, so it cleans up real nice. It's a Stuart McDonald product. Here I am shilling for Stew Mac, but they're great, so no worries. So what I do now then, I'll just kind of roughly and then I'll double check it with a tuner, because I know that it'll take a minute to set in. And so when I'm tuning, what I'll do, I'll hit the harmonic on the 12th fret. And because the top of an acoustic guitar is, I mean, that's how the sound emanates, is the top resonates and vibrates. Sometimes you have to do this a few times, and then, there we go. Then we're in tune. So if you ever got new tires on your car, you know how much it feels better and drives. It's the same thing with strings. So whenever they start getting dirty or grungy, then it's time to change them. So that's how Colin John changes his strings on the acoustic guitar. Thank you, Patreon friends. We really appreciate you. Thank you, Mike, for helping out.